We continue on with the Octane playoffs after taking last weekend off to celebrate Thanksgiving with all of our friends and family. We're back for the last 2 days of Split 1 of this season. My name's Happy, joined by Dia, and we are very excited to be here to bring you both today's action and tomorrow's action as we close out the season.
Yeah, we are getting down to, as you said, the last 2 days, which means that much like we had 2 Sundays ago now, people's seasons are ending today. The bottom 10 teams from today's lobby will be eliminated, but we don't just have this lobby going on. We've got a second lobby. There are 2 semifinals happening at the same time, so of course, hang out with us here, but also go check out Zephyr, who's streaming the other lobby.
Yeah, Zephyr is going to be checking out the other lobby, like you said. Top 10 teams from that lobby, top 10 teams from this one are going to compete to be your Split 1 champions. But we're still not at that finals lobby just yet. For now, we've got a very exciting day with our lobby yet to come. And that much we know for sure, with a lot of these teams having earned their way here. 10 teams coming in as the top 10 seeds, or 10 of the top 20 seeds from the regular season. 10 teams making their way in, already making it through the very difficult double elimination bracket we had to get here. So we've got 40 teams competing today, like we've said, 20 in our lobby, 20 in the other one, and the top 10 from each lobby will go to the Stage 1 Match Point Finals for Season 4.
And because we are in semifinals, because the stakes are so high, we have upped the number of games that we are playing on each day. So tomorrow is going to be the classic match point, but today, instead of the 6 games that we were playing 2 weeks ago, we are playing 8 games today across 3 maps: Storm Point, E-District, and World's Edge.
Yeah, the 8-game sets can be quite a lot, but it just means is that you need to be even more consistent. You can't just have 1 or 2 good games and then assume that you're going to be good for the rest of the day. It changes up how many points we're going to have to expect that 10th place threshold to be at. So we're going to keep a very close eye, like we've been doing for the past couple of playdays, on the middle of the pack teams, those teams that are fighting to just barely sneak into that top 10. Obviously, for the first few games, we'll see who's starting especially hot, and there are plenty of teams that we could expect to see those hot starts out of, because like I was talking about in the pre-show, we're finally starting to evolve the top 20 teams from the regular season of Premier, and with those good teams getting into the picture now, things can really start to shake up, and a lot of teams we've seen have some really good runs. Those runs might be ended by some teams that dominated through Premier this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at University of Hawaii, Purdue Black, UCSD Gold, all 3 teams that managed to make it through, actually looking pretty comfortable coming out of lower round 3. But then we've got teams like Full Sail Armada, who barely squeaked into today. And that's a team that I really got my eyes on because they looked good in the upper bracket, but didn't quite make the cut to semis directly, dropped down to the lower, and had an even tougher time there making their play style work. So what does that look like as the competition continues to take a step up?
And it's only going to get harder and harder for teams like that, especially as some of these teams coming back into the fold are teams like Cumberland, a team that a lot of people have had slated as a top 5, maybe even top 3 or top 2 team in collegiate since they came together. Southern Miss, the champions of Season 3, still coming back with Dales and Mangsta, who we were told were both in their last semesters, not even just last years. This will be their last split of Collegiate Apex. Obviously going to be motivated to continue to get some points on the board, as well as a lot of teams who really started to step up this season, like University of Utah, playing with former Apex South pro player Mobius. So a lot of teams coming back into the fray for the first time in quite some time. And like you pointed out, I'm interested in seeing how some of those teams towards the bottom do, like a Full Sail Armada, or specifically Hawaii and Purdue Black. I'm specifically looking at them because they both made massive runs from the first round of lowers to get here. Those are teams that are coming into it as hot as anybody is.
Yeah, it has gotten very stressful for a lot of our teams. And I think a question that I have coming into today is how much has that stress affected those teams that are in the 11th or 20th slots that we see now, the teams that have had to qualify into today's games instead of being seeded off the regular season? Because, well, initially you might presume that their seeding is lower, they are not as favored as those top 10 teams. Well, those top 10 teams haven't played through the rest of the bracket to get here. And I'd expect that you're going through a lot of development as a roster as you make it through the trials and tribulations of upper and lower bracket.
Those trials and tribulations all in the past now. It's time to see if those teams that came from those upper and lower brackets can prove their worth against the 20 squads, the 10 in our lobby, who prove themselves to be the very best the Premier had to offer in the regular season. We're here for 8 games as the Season 4 playoffs rolls on with the semifinals, and on Storm Point is where we will start.
Yeah, beginning on Storm Point is big as well. For teams that want to show up and put up big kill numbers, Storm Point has always been the place to do it. There's very little cover, there's very little safety, and there's a lot of rotate ability with things like the Tridents. I do want to make a quick note, we didn't talk about the team that much, although Guelph Griffins are a team that I'd like to keep an eye on a little bit later. For the start of today, they are playing as a duo, which is why we've only got 59 players in our lobby so far, and they're making quite an entrance, moving right on to Texas Orange down here in Cedo.
And they're going to already find a kill. And they get the finish on a Spicy Boy as well. So Texas Orange are going to lose a player very early on. Guelph didn't land here. They landed at Bean and instantly took the Trident straight into Texas's POI and make it a 2 versus 2. The first team to take any points through this set is going to be the only team that came in with 2 players, and they are aggressively looking for more. That is Pro League player DMG Future Streams, who knows that he can absolutely steamroll some teams in this lobby, even if he's in a 2 versus 3 disadvantage. The evac tower is going to get popped, but that's just going to let him know exactly where this team is and give him the opportunity to run them down even more effectively. But as Caden tries to get away, here goes the Trident after them.
Texas Orange with the immediate disengage. You have to imagine that they managed to maybe craft a banner, find some sort of safety, but this Trident is completely unrelenting. Plum Toaster making the triple take work right now, and now it's Trident on Trident violence.
What is going on? They have completely left this last member of Texas confused, and they can't see him. So they're just driving in circles around him, hoping that Plum Toaster can land enough shots. Eventually, he'll be able to get the kill, and White Guy can't do anything. Caden, the only one left for Texas Orange, and they have been completely griefed to start this game off. Fortunately, that Barometer team, I believe of St. Clair, has already left, so Texas Orange get the craft off. They should be able to get a reset inside of Barrow as well. But for now, that's looking a little bit dangerous for their start to the game.
I mean, this is a pretty crazy start from the Guelph Griffins. And like you say, with Texas Orange being able to recover, things should all be well and good. But for Southeastern Blue, it is looking very different. They and Cumberland are going at it, and it's a completely isolated fight in North Pad.
Yeah, this Cumberland team should not be losing a fight like this, but Janky's got 2 with a Sentinel, so Zach is going to start to run away. He looks a little bit tentative to try and continue to take this fight. He's almost caught in the open, but he barely ducks back into the trenches. Almost no HP left on him, and the Valk Q isn't quite going to be enough to finish him off either. Zach barely hanging on to life, and Southeastern Blue hanging on to this position in North Pad, though it's not even in Ring 1, so I doubt it's one they're playing for the long haul.
It's a very awkward fight, though. Even with Cumberland University disengaging at first, That's exactly what I was thinking of. UC San Diego started down Beast, and they just make their way up super easily. That's our first squad down Cumberland.
And Cumberland, the team that picked into going at Trident to try and do the tried and true alliance strat of running at the North Pad team. They're a great fighting squad, but Southeastern are letting them know that it is not going to be that easy. There may be a wealth of teams in this lobby that are either coming in from contenders or maybe some of the lower teams in Premier, but Southeastern Blue are not one of those teams that you can just dog walk in a fight because you've got players with T2 and high collegiate experience. And Cumberland, not the kind of team that a lot of people expected to be at the very bottom. They're going to be there at least for game number 1.
I mean, I'd say they're the least expected team, given that they just won ECAC. Like, this is a team that very well could be going back-to-back today, and yet it's been a rough start. So we'll see how they recover, but you, Ottawa Garnet, have still got a ways to go to make their own argument for an endgame, and Valkyrie is the perfect way to do it. Out of Command Center, they should be able to find a safe landing spot, given all of the safety that Valkyrie provides these days.
Yeah, very much in a strong position. Valk lovers, everything to be happy about. Garnet are just going to land towards the top of the waterfall.
No, we can't be landing on caustic barrels.
They land on the caustic barrels. Nobody's too close to do anything about it, though. Very far away, it's Calgary, one of the few teams who's on the edge right now. they're taking a fight against, I believe this is Texas Orange, the recently reset squadron, trying to make their way out of Barrow. Can't get out of their POI, can't get out of the POI they reset in. They're getting fought for both of them.
It's actually UC Santa Cruz that go down. Despite this fight, there is some blood being drawn in the ring. See what Texas Orange are able to do, but right now fighting off the bridge is a really awkward spot. You wouldn't think Calgary want this fight either. It's really easy for squads to rotate out of Jurassic, out of Coastal, and actually third party this, but you're gonna do what you're gonna do, and Calgary, they are feeling the hurt real quick as Full Sail Armada, as we speak it, come in from Jurassic to third party.
Yeah, that's exactly what you were talking about, and a great charge rifle shot for Von Kuno is going to get that 20th seed coming into today, a Full Sail Armada. A little bit of damage and a decent knock early on. That's a good job to establish their presence in the lobby. The res has been facilitated for Calgary, but now Full Sail Armada looking very confused. Malicious should still be good to get away, and you know who else was good to get away? Was Texas Orange, as it looks like they popped the Valgold, and they will make it out of Barometer just fine. So they may not be able to be said about UFC, though, as they're still very much stuck in this ring.
We'll see what their cooldowns look like in just a second.
Oof.
Unfortunately for them, taking a lot of damage inside the ring doesn't really give them the opportunity to recover. The charge rifle from Von Kuno is crazy to finish off that kill immediately. And it should turn into you, Calgary, slowly but surely being cooked in the ring, because I see no reason for Full Sail Armada to give up the chase.
And they don't see a reason to give up the chase either, so they will continue. Carvester and Lost Aim are both looking very lost inside of ring. And FSA are just going to look for a little bit of an angle to either of these players. There's no one really gatekeeping their edge, so as long as they go in from the Jurassic side of things towards maybe Cascades, they should be able to find something pretty solid later on, even if they take a little while and look for 1 or 2 extra KP. Also having a full minute until Ring 2 starts to close in means they should be okay. Interestingly enough, Guelph Griffins are also nearby, trying to press this area towards Barometer as the crack found on Despero. Still no kills confirmed yet, but Calgary, you'd have to imagine eventually the rotate's just going to become impossible if FSA keep putting this pressure on.
You mentioned that this was a fight around the edge of the map. It's worth noting how far on the edge it is. We're on the opposite side of the ring from where next zone pulls, as it goes all the way up towards wall, including a little bit of Cascade, before we're really in the safe zone. Right now, the teams that have their spots, University of Hawaii, San Jose State Blue, Southern Miss have a fantastic place to work out of, and I really like University of Utah's position in Command Center. All of those teams pretty flexible, pretty happy right now. Everyone else, especially those teams on the south side of the zone, not very happy. And we'll see what comes up for you, Ottawa Garnet, is now they're fishing for a spot. All the good ones, in my opinion, are taken, so where are we going?
Exactly. It looks like it could end up being maybe wall or maybe ending up towards the 3 nuts up in north pad, but it actually will probably be a counter pull given that so much of this north side of the ring, where it would continue to pull towards, isn't really accessible for a ring pull because so much of it is just wall like that it can't pull towards. So Ottawa Garnet are going to take a building that isn't even in next ring. As the next ring starts to close, settling for a decent spot, they'll have to hope on something better as the next buildings come through. Fortunately, all 3 of these other buildings in wall are occupied by different members of Illinois Orange, so they should be able to power something and at least have a bit of a space of refuge to come to move forward with.
Honestly, credit to Illinois Orange for taking all of that space.
Absolutely.
It is not very often that you see a single squad be able to hold all of wall for the first ring, let alone the second. You Ottawa Garnet do manage to claim that little building like you talked about, although we've got some damage being thrown in by Parks. This makes it no less impressive, though, that they have so much space in wall to work with.
They're going to start to converge a little bit on the same buildings as each other, as one member's actually getting ran at on his own building. Soma starting to get worried in this position. That's UC Irvine who were challenging them for a minute, but eventually UCI are going to dip back out. Illinois do have that building if they want to play it, but the Caustic is alone on that building, so doubt that that's going to be a long-term position, as UC Irvine forced to settle for a corner. That is not really something to be fully content with. It is in ring, but a lot of angles onto this position if those rampart walls get broken. and the nades are already getting chucked as a lot of teams recognize how bad a spot this is.
I would be concerned for them.
Wow.
Crazy spray out of the R9. Still plenty of safety with Alter, though. Even if he gets knocked here, does have the ability to recall, and is going to go for it. Not even waiting to get knocked and have his team pull him back. You fish with the R9, you don't get anything. Try again next time.
And Southern Miss starting to recognize that this is not a spot you want to overextend and die out of, as this third ring makes it clear that they are in one of the best spots in the game. It's very much towards the edge of where the ring is, but they have height they can work with and walk down on everybody else. That's something you know they're going to be happy with. They also have great angles into all those teams that are about to have to leave wall, of which there are many. They'll need to move forward. University of Utah, though, another team in a similar spot to Southern Miss, where yes, it's towards the edge, but they'll have height to work down with. So you seem to call it pretty well and saying that you like where they were at a ring or two ago.
Yeah, I mean, it works quite well. If we take a look at the zone as it's on your screen, they basically have the ability to play the tree that's on high ground overlooking Southern Miss. Nobody wants to walk up the hill at Command Center, and Southern Miss are really disincentivized from playing outside of their building. So for University of Utah, it should go pretty well. Of course, there's plenty that can happen in collegiate, but for the University of Oklahoma, things are definitely looking a lot darker. We can say that much with certainty, as an evac tower should bring them into wall, but let us all be reminded that most of wall isn't even in the next zone. So this is their first of many rotations.
Saved will land relatively safely. Not going to have that Valcolt back for quite some time. It's going to make this upcoming rotate very difficult, as Ottawa are going to try and take this height just below Southern Miss. It's playable, but with Southern Miss looking down on them, it's certainly going to be dangerous. Sparrowbolt came through, a lot of nades to try and push Ottawa out of this position, but they're okay. They're still persisting, even with the Alter TP there. But you can see that Southern Miss recognize how bad of a back foot they're on, and they start to really apply that pressure to push that team off of that low ground position. They know they might need it later, so try and establish yourself as much as you possibly can. Ottawa, continue to try and play for this spot, though.
Yeah, it's not a permanent denial, but see what Thales is able to do. Brusky does get a few good alternator shots in, but it's not enough. Play the low ground. You have the option to zip up later, and I'd much rather do that as you, Ottawa. Southern Miss have really recognized that they have to, or rather, their win condition is really benefited by inting for that position. Speaking of inting, we got a little orange moving in right now, and teams are definitely sending each other. That is a wipe on University of Oklahoma.
This is the team that was controlling all of wall, and given how little of it's going to be left, they're going to have to continue to do that after Ring 3 is fully closed. Soma has gone down, so that's going to be dangerous. Suemo also going to go down to Psycho, as UCI are now going to take these downs and try to run with them. The Bangalore ult is going to make it awkward, but here goes Psycho over the top. Parks still stands by himself, and he soon will no longer stand at all, as Illinois Orange go down in 15th.
UC Irvine had great capitalization right then. It gets them 3 KP. It gets them control of wall, which is fantastic for them. And University of Calgary, unfortunately, still in a tough spot. Full Sail Armada have gone down. St. Clair Saints are farming the lobby, picking up yet another kill for themselves. I believe that is actually their first one. And it may very well be one of their last, given the position that they are in. No Valk, only Alter to rotate. And the St. Clair Saints, they've got a lot of staying power, but unfortunately they have to move.
Yeah. And there aren't really a ton of great spots to pick from. Very much a ring that just kind of pulls into the open. I don't think Southern Miss's building is in this next one, and the buildings on the low end of Lift aren't in either. So if you're not controlling that height, you're basically just hoping on a prayer you can live for long enough. But Southern Miss aren't even controlling that height themselves anymore. Viz has got to take the Alter TP back and pray that he can recall his teammates, because they have really started to die, but he got them back, and Psycho got 2 kills with an Arc Star onto both of the teammates of Booker and Faustus of that squad that's just below Southern Miss. So somehow this reset is allowed to USM, while Ottawa Garnet, the team on the other end of the fight, is down in 13th.
I cannot believe that it's UCSD Gold who end up dealing the death blow to you, Ottawa. It saves Southern Miss. Southern Miss now have full high ground. And it is all thanks to what UCSD Gold were able to pull off there. St. Clair Saints, as we talked about, difficult spot. U Calgary had one as well, and they unfortunately did end up dying for it. Texas Orange watch the Guelph Griffins still in the Trident drive over them. And right now, I think they wish they had that bubble for the Trident, because this is not looking good.
Do not let Future get that Trident back. He is a dangerous man when he gets behind the wheel. As Southern Miss are going to try and control this height as much as possible, UCSD Gold goes down right before him, but they're coming through to try and sweep up the rest of that fight. As it's SC Avery going down, St. Green, though, will be the team that falls in 10th place, with UCI going down in 9th. Southern Miss continue to put this pressure onto Southeast Mississippi, or Southern Mississippi, rather, the ones putting the pressure on and taking a finish onto Avery. And that's going to be good control over that height again, but they're not really in for this next ring. Guelph are, and they're going to look for a kill in a Norwalk. Boy, they find what they were looking for, and they don't even get down in the process. With Southeast Blues ending up going down, somehow they're still alive up here.
And we get back in the Trident and disengage. This is just as a third party is coming in. You can see some shots from Texas Orange coming from the side, and University of Utah, they are bamboozled. They have no idea what to do. This high ground should have been theirs, but when a Trident runs at you, you can't do much about it. Guelph Griffins reset, and I think they might just do it again. They got a Kraber to work with.
See, I mean, why wouldn't they do it? They hear the res going off. That's an opportunity, but it's not one they're going to take just yet. They want to wait for the right moment. With Utah controlling that ring just above them, Texas Orange, the only other team who's even somewhat in the next ring. The Southern Miss are very split apart, but they want to try and control that height. As Thales gets the knockdown into Mez, that's a big kill to find, but that's a third-party opportunity that you could absolutely take if you're Guelph. But Southern Miss not fully committing to this fight just yet, as Thales thinks he can wipe it all by himself. Mansky coming in to try and finish the party off, and eventually Utah goes down in 6th.
Southern Miss just finished the job that Guelph did for them, and they were the biggest problem of the remainder of Utah University. Now they have no problems. Temple Cherry, the only squad that could contest for that spot. And Temple Cherry are unfortunately the squad getting shot at by everyone else in the lobby. Nobody has to move as soon as them. So even this res should be meager comfort for them. With a Kraber trained on... That should be 2 Krabers, in fact, since we know Guelph has one.
Yeah, that Newcastle wall is going to be quite annoying to start with. They do manage to get a Valkylt off. The Newcastle himself, not so fortunate, but a little bit of a no-reg. Doesn't quite give that kill to Thales, and somehow Temple Cherry are still persisting up to this point. They get to behind the blue boxes, and they're still alive. The next missed Kraber shot from Thales isn't quite enough to close them out, but that one finally takes care of 07 Dash. It's just left to howl on Temple Cherry, and this is Nikosu's opportunity to try and go in for a third party. He'll go get a kill for his own team and wipe them out, but Shmup just got absolutely sunned on his attempt to get up to his teammates. So SJSU Blue really with the pressure on them, and who but the Trident to come back into the picture.
I can't... Guelph, smell the blood in the water, and let us remind you this is a duo from the beginning of the game. 4 kills so far for Future Streams, 2 assists. That is 6 kills and a 4th place minimum for Guelph, who have been playing without a third member. They've unfortunately inherited the spot of Temple Cherry that was begrefed pretty suddenly, but when you've got Bubble Trident rotates, maybe that's not so bad. San Jose State Blue in a bit of a difficult spot. They're on the same side of the ring as Southern Miss and Texas Orange.
Southern Miss, you have to imagine the ones who were controlling the most part of this ring. The champions of Season 3 will not come into Season 4's playoffs without making their presence known immediately, as everybody else starts fighting on the low ground. It's Texas Orange, the one to suffer the first fatality at the hands of Viking Cap. Kai and Spicy Boy barely still hanging on, but Kai hanging on nonetheless with the R9, trying to deal damage and just keep himself alive as he dances through the altar portal. Nikosu also barely even alive himself, but he's more alive than Kai is, because he's just got his team 3rd place. How much better can you do than that, though, as both Future and Kai, or rather, and SJSU Blue are barely alive on the low ground. It's going to be a clean sweep for Southern Miss. It just took down to who they choose to kill first. As Future barely gets away inside the Trident, they need to land 1 shot on the guy, and he'll go down in 3rd. It's SJSU Blue still living up to 2nd is Nikosu, trying to make a play up, but he won't get to do it for long. Shmup barely still lives. He won't live any longer. It's Southern Miss to take game 1.
I mean, congratulations to Southern Miss. That was a very well-played game of Apex Legends, but I this was a Guelph game. Like,
Oh, yeah.
win or not, they said the most during this lobby. And while it is a fantastic start for Southern Miss, and like I said, very good Apex Legends, great play for the high ground, great zone identification, end game identification of what squads they could push and when, it was Guelph that were like piranhas in the lobby. No matter who you downed, they were going for them, they were finishing kills, they were applying pressure, and my god, were they hard to kill. As a duo surviving into top 3 with the amount of kills they did as well. What?
You're watching that game, Southern Miss won, but if you're watching that game without any like biases coming in, you're a Guelph fan now. Like, there's no way you're watching that and not able to root for that squadron. As we have the scores ready to go, we can see just how well Guelph did in their game as a duo. They got 13 points. So that feels like the story of game number 1. SJSU Blue barely beating them out at 14 points, and Southern Miss obviously come away with the most with 25. And that's the top 3, the only ones to hit double digits after the first game.
13 kills is pretty huge for Southern Miss, though. I mean, that basically doubles their win in points alone. And when we're talking about consistency, as we did at the start of the day, this is a great place to be, because now you can consistently make much less points a game and still have a pretty good shot at top 10. I will remind everybody, because we are playing 8 games today, wins on their own do mean a lot less when it comes to qualifying you straight into the top 10 of the lobby, just because there are going to be more points for everyone. But when you have a game like this for Southern Miss, where you're hitting double the points that you would get off of placement alone, it's the kind of start that you'd like to have to the day for not just making top 10, but even an argument for top 5 should they continue in even a fragment of this fashion.
Looking towards the bottom 5, every single one of the teams who finished with no placement points couldn't find a single kill either. That is uncharacteristic in that normally you'll see at least 1 or 2 teams get a kill or 2 if they couldn't find any placement points. Sort of telling that maybe some of those squads towards the bottom, not just struggling with getting to ring, but also struggling to pick good fights or struggling to fight well when they have a fight picked out. Whatever the case may be, it could speak to a lot of teams, like you were talking about, relying on placement points, but each good placement you get is less and less impactful because you're playing so many games today. There has to be an element of consistency in terms of getting some kills on the board. So we'll have to see our bottom 5 or even 6 teams, including Ottawa Garnet not being able to win any fights in that one, start to get some more kills on the board. Generally, obviously, you come out of game 1 with no points, you want to get more points on the board, but the nature of how it went for all of those teams in the bottom 5, definitely concerning to start with. But I will say, for some of our teams that are more zone-oriented, that zone is not the kind of pull you were looking for. There were only about 3 good spots, even by rings 3 or 4, both the top and the bottom ends of the lift. And then from there, the whole ring just became open space. So it's definitely going to favor some of those teams who can fight better, like Southern Miss, and they did exactly what we expected them to do.
Yeah, it really does come down to, in some cases, how well you can predict the zone and set yourself up for it, who is in a position to contest for those spots. And for that very reason alone, I'd like to give a shout out. I know we talked about Guelph quite a bit, but Texas Orange did so well that game, given that they were the ones being run at in Cenote by a duo at minute 1. They recovered fantastically. They made it all the way out of yet another reset and being pinched again down in Barometer. And they managed to make it into the top 6 squads by points in game 1. That is such a great start for a team that encountered difficulties early on and actually signals that they may have some of that consistency that we talked about over the course of these next 7 games now.
Yeah, you get 7 points out of that start of the game. You've got to be very happy with how it goes. And coming into game number 2, what they're going to initially hope on is not what happened last game with Guelph instantly just Trident running at them from Bean. But obviously you're not going to pick Bean to have a really great POI. It's to continue to do what Guelph are doing, is they're already landing on that Trident. You can see Texas Orange are flying towards the Trident as well. They're not quite going to reach it though. Instead, Guelph are going to hit that Trident first, just loot whatever's on these bins and instantly look towards an aggressive play straight into Cenote.
I like the thought from Texas Orange of being able to contest that, but they scout it out, and that's almost good enough. It should let Texas Orange play offensively to counter this strategy, but surprising to see Future Streams showing up here alone. Maybe just hoping this time, since maybe they see it coming, to steal some loot and get out. See what the skirmish looks like, though, because you should hear right now that he's in the same building as Kaiden.
He wants blood. Kai's going to start to run up on him, though, and Future is very much not in a good position anymore. He'll have to take the Trident and head for the hills. This is not the same opportunity that Texas gave them last game. Everybody was following their loot paths last time, just trying to see what loot they could procure early on. This time around, they recognize that as soon as the Trident shows up in Cenote, we need to all triple up together. We know they're only 2 players. Leverage that man advantage as much as we possibly can. And you can already see Texas Orange paired up very early on in this game, but you know what it means? They're not dead 30 seconds in, which is much better than it was last game.
Great adaptation, great communication, and for Texas Orange, they've got the Ring console to themselves now and a little bit of peace to work with, which gives them a good idea of where we're going. And surprise, it's Wall again. I'll say a little further north this time, but the total zone remains about the same, maybe pulling a little bit more towards Wall. We'll see what Blue Falcons are able to do, if they're able to maintain the same level of presence that Illinois Orange were able to just minutes ago. Cumberland University look to be heading towards Southeastern Blue once again, and UCSD aren't quite on the same rotate timing, so maybe this works out for them. But the focus really is going to be, especially for Temple Cherry, who just came out of Stormcatcher, for University of Hawaii, who are just coming out of Cascade, get to Wall as quickly as possible and get a good spot.
Yeah, Blue Falcons out of Toronto Metropolitan University. Been blessed with yet another good ring pull. Right outside their home, inside of Wall. They got 0 points last game, though. This one, though, I think, like you kind of said, a little bit closer to Wall, so they should be very happy with it. I'd imagine it will go towards the north side, as it seems to be pulling that way already. With Southeastern Blue once again getting ran at. Cumberland are not discouraged by how poorly this went last game. They continue to want to smoke, but this time around, Southeastern, they want to fade away thanks to this altar portal and get into Wall. So they're going to let Cumberland have it. They're going to go make a rotate for a spot that's actually in ring.
Honestly, it's very infrequent that you get such early game use out of Wraith Portals, and it works so well for Southeastern Blue to essentially Uno reverse card Cumberland. They go, yo, you want this POI? You want to fight here? Sure. We've already looted it, and now we're halfway through our rotation into zone while you're looting an empty POI with UCSD on the way. Super nice play, and we've seen adaptation out of Texas Orange coming into Game 2. Seeing the same out of Southeastern Blue is just fantastic.
Cumberland's still in that building as well. We could tell for a good 5 to 10 seconds when we watched them after Southeastern had already left that they thought Southeastern were still there. You know, maybe they're just playing for the ring console, wanting to get some of that good information, and they will be able to tell that it is going north side of Wall. But like you said, UCSD Gold starting to rock up on their POI. I think a lot of teams going to be a lot happier with the early rotate prospects of this ring, though, as Wall very clearly going to be in for, I would say, longer than it was last time. And already, you've got the Wall itself, you've got the 4 buildings in Wall, you've got a couple spots you can play on the very north end. So there are more opportunities to play many different spots for those teams who love getting to ring fast, like Temple Cherry. 07 Dash, though, is going to be shown that there are not as many spots open as he thinks there might be.
Yeah, almost got blown up on the way. This is not the Illinois Orange style game that we had just last Wall round. This time, everybody's in Wall. Everybody's got their own building. Gentrification of Wall has occurred, and nobody is stepping foot outside these buildings. Illinois Orange have great position. If this pulls north, it could be a little bit risky if it pulls further south and towards the line between Wall and Bunny Hill, though, and I do suspect it might, as do teams like San Jose State Blue, who are playing the same spot, and Guelph Griffins, I mean, who knows what they're thinking. If they don't see a knock, it's probably head empty, but as soon as they see someone on the ground, you know what Guelph are doing.
I think calling a lot of teams moving into a POI and zone gentrification is like my new favorite thing ever. As Southeastern Blue,
you can't say that.
seemingly gonna already die. That is insane that they've already gone down that fast. I think they wanted a spot towards the north end of Wall, maybe in the tunnel, but they couldn't find a spot inside of the POI itself. They just kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Hawaii ends up with one of those KP. 2 of them go to UCSD. And Southeastern, the only team dead, as Ring 1 still yet to fully close.
Yeah, I mean, UCSD's position actually really not bad. I think the thing that's most concerning about it is the fact that they're running Wraith for their rotations and not something like Valkyrie. That can make this a little bit difficult, but if they choose, and keep your eyes on this, to fight for the tunnels up towards Zeus Station and Lightning Rod, using the Wraith portal to get there, I could see this going very well.
Also going to take a lot of Evo thanks to the Prowlers that stand nearby, as Guelph. I mean, you put it well. I don't know what they're thinking. It looked like the idea was to try and maybe play inside of Checkpoint to either take a fight or hit that ring console, but Cumberland were there. Don't think Cumberland played for the ring console, though, as they are going to continue to advance forward very early before that ring popped, and thus not have that info for the next ring. That's info that Guelph are going to have, though, so they can make their best rotate. And the info is going to let them know that it will continue to pull very deep north towards that very, very north end of wall, perhaps even pulling out towards the Bunny Hill.
It's not often that you're going to catch me praising a Mirage pick, but I do have to appreciate that you basically get all the utility of Gibby, and then with Mirage, you get all the utility of everybody else. Guelph are able to hit ring consoles, they're able to hit survey beacons. They have a lot of intel for a team with otherwise very little autonomy in the game.
Mm-hmm. Those Gibby bubbles are certainly going to help in terms of providing them some longevity. With Southern Miss, very much not in as good a spot as they were last time, but Darquish has just been caught trying to rat on Thales, and then we did decent damage. It wasn't nearly enough to make a big impression, as Purdue Black just getting stuck here. Darquish is going to be gone, and I believe it's just left to Waki, who is nowhere near where his teammate just died. I have no idea what happened to Purdue Black this early game, but the poor guy, Waki, running away. Basically no hope at getting much done because there are teams all around him, and it looks like Lucky gonna give him an opportunity. Waki gets the fight he was looking for, but that is not the shots that you wanted to see out of the kid. A very close personal friend of mine. Hate to see Waki go down like that early, but 19th place is what Purdue Black have to settle for.
Sometimes you walk into St. Clair Saints and say we will. That's a team that knows what to do. St. Clair recognize the weakness of just a single runaway legend. And now the opportunity to even third-party this fight. Texas Orange, I think unknowingly, are jumping right onto St. Clair Saints. This could go very badly.
Oh my god. They had no idea. You were absolutely right. And they're going to get rolled as a result. Rusty G gets a first knockdown. Lucky found his second. And nothing was found by Kai or Spicy Boy. So Caden is going to have to find a new place to go. 2 free KP donated to St. Clair Saints Green. That was just after they found Waki trying to rat and got that kill as well. So they've basically been gifted 3 KB by teams looking a little bit clueless on the edge.
St. Clair Saints, play slow, play the edge. I was critical of their comp last game because they had no rotate tools, but when teams rotate into you, suddenly that's not so much of a problem. Texas Orange, though, are known for their ability off of last game to recover, and they've got at least one crafter on the way. Texas Orange have options in Command Center and Cascade. Cascade notably empty right now. Cumberland University are passing by St. Clair Saints, so both of them should be able to split the sides of Command Center. And I'm curious about this Southern Miss UCSD Full Sail Armada shenanigans that's happening up top. I'm noticing UCSD rotating deeper into wall right now. They do not have next ring information, but if you're going to choose to take fights and gamble for this, you might not need it.
Let's go see what's up over there.
Still plenty of time for fights to be taken. A few teams towards the edge. Texas Orange looking for a reset as St. Clair Saints and Calgary may run into each other. That could get interesting soon. It's San Jose State Blue, though, that are going to lose one. Viking Cap dying inside the ring. Seemingly on a different building. They're going to be able to pop the Moby. It looks like they should get the res off okay. But for now, the next full squad wipe looks like it'll happen here towards the top of Waterfall, as St. Clair Saints Green and U of Calgary Exodus nowhere to go but straight into each other.
St. Clair Saints with the zone at their back have limited time to find a crack. They've already done a lot of damage to University of Calgary. Defensive Sparrow ult being used, but this Arcstar should basically clear the top. I'd like to see a little bit more utility thrown in here by the St. Clair Saints. Do they have the nades to make this stick? Because right now, University of Calgary, they know what this fight is for. It is for their tournament lives, and the nades getting thrown out are very indicative of that. Nice moves by Rusty. IGL of the squad. Ooh, gets him down to 1 HP. But Rusty's still alive, can still contribute.
Both of them. Barely still alive, but alive all the same. We are so close to an opening kill in this fight, but not quite there as aBeZy chucks out his Newcastle wall to get Rusty a bat off, but he now himself needs to pop something. It's heels on heels for both of these teams, getting chipped down so often, but St. Clair's are finally going to commit to it. The Newcastle wall to play behind, lost aimer, dishes out some damage, but takes some himself as well. But
Oh
the
my
entry
God.
damage from the Sentinel is major, and that's the opening that Calgary needed, but the closure doesn't seem to be as good. 2 kills in a row for St. Clair's, and it's all 3 to Lucky and Rusty. aBeZy went down first, but they'll get him right back up with 3 more kills.
A beautiful Sentinel shot, but St. Clair Saints, they had the momentum, they had the caustic ult, they were willing to commit all of those cooldowns, and rightly so. Full Sail Armada and University of Oklahoma are down, and Southern Miss have chosen to fight for the north side against University of Utah. We've seen this matchup before, but last time University of Utah was down 2 members. This time it's a little more even.
Southern Miss continuing to have such a good idea as to what spots they should prioritize, where they can leverage the height perfectly, and that's what they're starting to do on Utah. Utah stuck in a bad spot. Illinois Orange, though, kind of stuck in a worse one, as they did get pressured off of their building for a bit. They will end up making their way back. It looked like Temple might be nearby as well. I don't think they're fully going to push in yet. As UCSD Gold are just going to take the bottom floor of Hawaii's building. This is not a coexist you see happen often, but no one really wants to challenge up or down that staircase because of the awkward angles. So they're both just going to have to be content with the person playing on the other floor as Blue Falcons get landed on by U Ottawa Garnet.
Yeah, seems like we're all real comfortable sharing floors today. U Ottawa Garnet playing the upstairs, as you said, of Blue Falcons. Should be, I want to say, pretty unpushable. Those altar portals could cause a bit of a mess, but Caustic Gas just gives you so much defensive ability that U Ottawa Garnet should be able to hold on. The question is who has to rotate first? Who feels like they've got to clear a team off their back? Texas Orange getting cleared right now. It is down to a 1v2, I believe, and the melee does not connect. St. Clair Saints are going to go down. Texas Orange will follow, and it's UC Santa Cruz, the last team laughing.
Yeah, when you see someone no-scoping a G7 and then they go to the melee with the other guy at like just barely under full HP, that's how you know it is desperate times. As Blue Falcons, the team who landed at Wall, the best they could find was the top end of Mountain Lift, or the top end of the lift just south of Wall, that is, and they're not going to be able to do anything with it. They end up dying to U Ottawa Garnet, pressing them heavy in a spot that didn't end up even really being too close to ring. As the rings to come, Illinois Orange in a phenomenal spot, seemingly the CEOs of Wall, but the Guelph Griffins to also find themselves in what would be ring 5.
Yeah, sitting as a duo with Southern Miss looking down at them. This could go very poorly for Southern Miss if they do not spot Guelph in time. They are rats.
The signature trident. They've sat behind it. It's given them all the cover they could possibly ask for, and Southern Miss are very confident that there's nobody else in this area of the map. They think they can play the entirety of the bridge. It could be Guelph to prove them very wrong very soon. With Southern Miss spreading out just a little bit, opportunities could be given in, but for now, Guelph are going to hold their tongue, wait until maybe the top 10, or more appropriately, just wait until the right opportunity to start to take some KP. Yes, they're good shooters. We know that Future Streams can fight well, but he's not stupid, and he knows that a 2 versus 3 against a team as good as Southern Miss is never a good idea.
University of Utah, they know this is their best option. Taking the top floor worked well for U Ottawa earlier, and seems to be working well for University of Utah. I like the focus on the rampart walls from afar, just making sure that nobody's able to easily shoot at them. The University of Utah, they've got a lot more to focus on because there are kills around to be collected. Make no mistake, teams, players are going to be falling quite a bit in the next few minutes, and we're already seeing some of them hit the floor.
Yeah, Booker's going to be fully finished off as Brusky gets knocked down as well. I believe the 2 of them teammates leaving their 1 teammate up alone. All these teams that were already in buildings very content to continue to sit there. We do have to worry about teams coexisting with them instead, but Future Streams finds a knock on a Viz. That's that entry they needed onto Southern Miss, and Guelph are gonna fully take it. They get a second one on a Mangsta, and they've left Southern Miss as one player standing. It's just Thales, and Future Streams has successfully griefed from the bridge. That corner goes completely unchecked that entire time.
Might be able to, with the altar, pull off the revive. I'm going to keep my eyes on the player count just to see how this works. Southern Miss praying right now that they get the ship to bring their comrades back in. All I'm saying, Seer Meta could never. We wouldn't get that kind of rat play in Seer Meta.
Valid. Can't say that you're wrong, and that was a fun one, because now the bridge is open to be taken by anybody. But are the other teams going to know that Guelph is still in that same exact position? Still remains to be seen as 07 Dash is going to knock down a Wild with the Akimbo 20s, but from this side it's Lefter knocking down one. Shmub getting the knock on 07 Dash as well, and Temple Cherry very much not in a position you can play for the long haul. You're going to start to get finished off by UC Irvine with great angles from the outside, as they could very easily become the only team on this side of the wall and have that control all to themselves.
UCSC Chop got ratted on. Southern Miss are fighting for the respawn beacon and almost win it before they get run up on from behind. San Jose State taking that right out of their hands. Thales almost finding the res. San Jose State turn around, and they've got work to do clearing their backs. That is Temple Cherry that they're sending right now, and a combination of San Jose State and Guelph Griffins will help take out them and UC Santa Cruz Chop.
Top 8 for the remaining teams, as San Jose State Blue end up playing this bridge, and they're playing it really well. Hawaii Varsity, they don't quite know where they're playing. They've got a single box to work with, and Kai is going to look for a corner. Cole could come through to try and help as well, but he gets shot along the way. Great shots for Mez to shut him down, and Guelph are themselves going to get shut down in a place with a lot of teams left and not a lot of area. These Newcastle walls providing a lot of playable space, and although Kai doesn't have the Newcastle walls that Gerald once provided, he's got the R9, and he's got decent angles onto a team in a decent spot. Could even find the res on a Cole because he's provided enough space for himself to do just that.
Got time to hit it. You're going to want the extra firepower when it comes to the next rotation. A lot of teams alive left in this zone, and it's really telling how different it is this time around. University of Hawaii do go down, UC San Diego Gold being the ones to help make that happen, but San Jose State, they see that that fight was not free for UCSD, and they take another, actually wiping out all of UCSD and moving us down to top 5.
Only credit for 2 of those 3 kills. They're not necessarily worried about credit for 1 extra kill. They're worried about the wealth of points that comes with a high KP first place. Already 13 kills on the board for San Jose State Blue, as with a single point added on to whatever they've already got, they will pass Southern Miss. Whether that be a placement of 4th over the 5th they're locked in right now, whether that be even just 1 more kill, they should be good to take first after this game. They're not looking for just first right now. They're looking for locking themselves in as early as physically possible, with UC Irvine trying to lock themselves into a new spot in ring, but they're not really able to find one. Good damage off the back of the Bangalore ultimate, but Ottawa Garnet are going to jump on this. Brusky a little bit off, but Faustus Festus still takes the first and the finish on the left there. Ottawa Garnet still need to reset though, and they don't have a character who's well equipped to do it. So Dude Man could easily make this comeback into 3 versus 3, now a 1 versus 1, and he's got good damage in with the alternator. The G7 no scopes aren't so reliable, but he's got a hope and a prayer, but it's not enough. Booker keeps his team in it.
Booker on the caustic, clutching it up for U Ottawa, who are now resetting. San Jose State Blue, they're pressuring University of Utah in the north. Illinois Orange are still up there, and they've just lost one as well. Shmub's gone down. U Ottawa, they've got all the time in the world to reset and take this away from the 3 squads that are skirmishing.
I think this is a 2v2v 1v1 of some kind, as there are so many players knocked. Illinois Orange, they'll go down in 4th place with Mez. Oh, he's just dead. There is no way you're getting back into it. Utah gone. San Jose State Blue has to hope this Viking cap is enough to get them over the line.
Shmub's respawning.
There's a respawn onto Shmub.
Shmub's
just
back!
in time. Booker and Brusky are both decently low. They find the swap it in 1 clip. Found for Shmub, but it's just not enough. He can't get over the line. You, Ottawa Garnet, are able to lock it down in the second game.
And a very well-deserved win by you, Ottawa Garnet, especially when you're getting landed on by a Bangalore in the last second. Shmub very nearly had that, but you, Ottawa, and their fighting prowess really showed in the last couple of minutes. Not only were they able to find the win on the low ground to keep them playing inside wall, but then the full reset into finishing off 3 separate squads as they came in through the altar portal. I mean, that is a very clean team. And when we look at University of Ottawa's journey here as well, they came up through the south side of wall, fought for the building against Blue Falcons up on the top of Bunny Hill, and found a win when they really shouldn't have been able to. This should be a stalemate between 2 squads, and as the squad on the roof, you're waiting for the team below you to make a mistake. University of Ottawa, they don't wait for mistakes. They get aggressive.
And they are a team coming from Contenders, the second place team in Contenders, all the way in the top 40, playing with premier teams and looking not just like they can compete, but like they are one of the best teams in this lobby. We'll see where exactly on the scoreboard they stand after their win in game number 2. And it's Ottawa Garnet in 3rd place after the big win. Not the most KP they could have found in a win. They're only able to lock down 9, 21-point game total to respond to a 1-point game in the first, but it's San Jose State Blue, the big story in that one. 15 kills and their second place in a row to put them 7 points ahead of Southern Miss and 16 points ahead of Ottawa Garnet in 3rd place.
I mean, San Jose State Blue just played out of their minds there. I'm a big fan of the team. They know it as well. So I'm not going to toot their horns too much. They know they're good. I know they're good. Everybody at home knows they're good, especially after that game. But it's a dominant performance from them, even with the 2nd place finish. We'll see how much more they can get done. As I will say, San Jose State Blue, very, very good at picking up KP. And with this being the upcoming last match on Storm Point of the day, this could be the last big game we get out of San Jose State Blue. And I say could be, you know. I'm not going to make any predictions on that front just yet, but
yeah, it certainly has a potential. But as we come into game number 3, our 3rd game on Storm Point of the day, the potential for a lot of these teams to start to jump up the leaderboard a little bit. Noticeably, 2 teams stuck on 0. Not just Purdue Black, a team that, you know, was one of the lower teams in Premier, barely scraped by to even get to the top 40 and had some troubles along the way, but Cumberland at 0 points after 2 games. Their strategy of the Alliance tech of running at the Northpad team has not worked. The first time, they kind of got just schooled in the 3-on-3 and then picked apart by third parties. Last game, they went for a little bit of a 3v3 scrap. They couldn't find anybody because they'd already evacuated, that being Southeastern Blue, the team who lands at Northpad. And then from that point on, Cumberland couldn't find any kills on the edge and didn't even get a top 15. So uncharacteristically slow start perhaps. They thought it was going to be an easy day, and they're not giving the lobby the respect it really deserves.
it is tough because out of Trident, you have a Trident, but outside of that, you don't have much. And it really does come down to whether Cumberland can execute on the game plan that they've set up for themselves, and that is to make the most of their mobility, catch some squads off guard, and win the fights. Something that Guelph are consistently trying to do against Texas Orange, and may very well do for the second game. They find the first pick onto Spicy Boy, and they don't even use the bubble to try and get out. Instead, just continuing to play inside the Trident. Finally, bubble's going to be used. Future Streams wants the fight, though.
He is going to get it, but it didn't really seem like it was a fight that he ended up genuinely wanting. Plum Toaster didn't quite pop the bubble in time. It was a little bit of indecision. And Future Streams is going to end up dying, or not dying for it. Instead, his teammate's going to die for it, and he's going to have to make his way back to Bean. So Texas Orange end up getting everybody back online. No KP locked in for Guelph Griffins. And of all three games we've seen so far, this is definitely the worst start that their Cenote endeavors have gotten off to.
Yeah, I think... I mean, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that moment, just because it does look at face value like they could have secured 1 KP at the very least, but it's going to be a talk for another day. So far, Guelph have just performed really admirably through the course of these first 2 games. We'll see what the third one in the scoreboard brings. Hopefully at some point they get their third in here. We don't have any comments on what's going on with them, just that they've been playing the first 2 as a duo and seem to be pretty happy with and doing well with it. Cumberland University, however, are back to their tried and true fight against Southeastern Blue.
And Cumberland, in this endeavor, are actually going to get what they wanted. The Southeastern Blue still haven't gotten that first raid portal up. Cumberland going at it early enough and also finding an Evo Harvester is going to really play to their advantage, as the Bangalore smoke also going to heavily play to their advantage in breaking some of those rampart walls. The nades go straight in, and I think for the first time, Cumberland have Southeastern Blue right where they want them. The nade is going to do big damage to Kaiken, and they haven't quite gotten the kill though. Those Maggie drills have got to lock in something, and they will. Zach W. Keys locks down the frag on a Vortex, and Cumberland with plenty of space and time to get some batteries off and try to get a reset going, as the rest of Southeastern in a little bit of an awkward spot. I think Yankee and Avery have kind of ran. Oh no, they're actually still fighting this. Yankee is trying to get away with a little bit of life, what little he has left, but Avery can't quite get out of the building, and Cumberland are starting to bully Southeastern Blue. This is why they tried to make that play. Their first points are on the board, and it is the first team dead in game number 3.
And you'll notice that this time, UCSD aren't rotating north. And that says a lot, because UCSD Gold have done a really good job, 2 games in a row, of rotating towards the ring. And we're going south this time around. No more wall zones, folks. We are going into Barometer and into Jurassic for our first couple of zones. This one a bit tough, but realistically, zones don't end Jurassic, so look out for squads that want to play the Edge playing through Jurassic, and everybody else, realistically, trying to find a spot in the north end of Barometer.
Definitely north end of Barrow, because that south end, the ultimate south buildings aren't even in anymore, and the bottom of ring is not touching towards that other south building. So it should still be on that north side, probably some counter pull, maybe even just a slight one that ends up out towards the water could be on the cards. But for now, Southern Miss looking for a little bit of a scrap towards Command Center, as they're going to run into, I believe, U Ottawa Garnet inside of this building, and Thales instantly able to get some good opening damage. They want to continue to push this, and Viz will do just that. The nade is going to throw off Thales a bit, but he'll still find damage onto Faustus Festus, and this could be a little bit humbling after your big win in the semifinals. You're already down 2 players in Booker. Though he was able to get 1 knock, has a lot more than he needs to do, and he isn't up to the task. Southern Miss instantly humble the winners of Game 2, and the winners of Game 1, the only ones who last this deep into Game 3.
I mean, I really liked U Ottawa Garnet's fighting. I will say that was when they were picking the fights, and it's difficult when they are playing on the defensive in Command Center, something that Southern Miss are so good at taking advantage of. Squads that are unprepared for the firepower that they bring to the table. That leaves an empty Command Center for them. Southern Miss get to keep rotating down with absolutely no problems. Cumberland moving right back onto Trident to try and find a fight up against Illinois Orange of all teams.
And they're going to look for exactly what that is. Damage in for Slasher. The smokes are going to make it awkward. Parks it with a good angle onto him. He'll actually win that fight. That wasn't the first kill in this fight, though, as Syken found one, and there's another one on the board right after for Zach. Syken not even going to end up going down. Cumberland are starting to have their way on the edge. That is their second squad wiped in this North Pad Trident area, and they've barely even left their drop spot already. 6 points on the board, and already a lot more teams dead at the start of this game than we normally have by this point through the first 2.
I mean, I'm seeing the dream for Cumberland. This is exactly the kind of game that they wanted to have when they picked up Trident and when they played the way that they did in the first 2 games. University of Utah, their game plan's also been pretty clear through the course of the day. Pick a spot that's likely safe for zones 1 and 2, and then look for fights on the way in where you can abuse teams that are rotating in through the edge of zone and maybe don't have a plan. For University of Utah, it's worked out pretty well so far. We'll say with Mobius getting knocked, yeah, it's awkward, but it should not result in their death.
Yeah, that was from Milwaukee all the way across the river, and that is not a push that anybody is going to end up going for in the position that Purdue is in. certainly in no space to try and run all across that open field. They don't even have like even a cat wall or some bang smokes that could make that even somewhat possible. Just going to bank on this ring continuing to pull towards the south end, as they themselves pretty much on an island inside of this nut with Purdue Black. They're just kind of chilling. A team who had a lot of difficulties getting here. I know personally I've heard about some of them from Walkie, but it's a team that this is their first semester playing together, and they've already shown a lot of potential for the future if they can start to continue to get some practice on the board. With Mobius letting them have a little bit of damage. He's already on 1 HP. It seems like they're playing to farm some evo off of the reses, and that's something that Tharquisha will happily let them do, as it gets him some evo too.
Yeah, realistically, it is a win-win for a lot of teams. At least if you're not straight up 3v3, if you are able to maintain a safe distance. Looking in the southeastern corner, Temple Cherry not able to maintain that same distance, but they've got high ground, which is just as good, if not better. They're fighting UC Irvine, who are on the low ground beneath them, and I do not envy UC Irvine's position. Caught between Temple Cherry on the high ground and everybody else in Barometer. UC Irvine have to fight or die.
And 07 Dash is already going to get really good angles towards the side. You can see he's right next to Dude Man, who's going to have to pop his Wraith Q to get away. This is a fight that Purdue also could third party if they're aware of what's going on behind them. But I think you put it well when you said that you don't envy where UC Irvine is at, as you can't envy where San Diego Gold is either. They're going to make a play for the nut just outside of their bridge, and they will be able to get it off. Somehow nobody here yet, and the Wraith Portal will be enough to fully get this team reset in a decent position, but UFC Exodus just outside could easily start to press this.
Picking the Newcastle up is going to give you a whole lot more safety. UCSD.
What?
Somehow that goes wrong again. You Calgary, they're going to be the ones set up on this bridge watching whatever's happening with UCSD and maybe thinking about a third party, but they as well are going to have an isolated member gone down. Lost Aimer going to get picked up real quick. Nobody in danger of sending you Calgary because nobody wants their spot.
This is Blue Falcons, the team on the bridge. Great Sparrow ult by Carvester to start to take a lot of their HP away. The TMU Blue Falcons looking to advance likely eventually. Calgary need to look to advance themselves though, because they are not in ring in this position. So Lost Aimer is going to try and look for something of a Wraith port. Basically just a Hail Mary to get anywhere that's even somewhat playable. This bridge could be playable, that is if not for Nkosu and SJSU Blue sitting up on that height looking down on them, and Southern Miss looking down on the rest of the lobby, starting to make their way down on the rest of the lobby, looking for that final KP on a Fishy that we won't be able to find what he deserves. Instead, just going to have to take that finish on a Wild.
It's interesting that even though we've got Valkyrie banned, we've got Caustic banned, we're still seeing teams choose to play without Newcastle, especially on Stormpoint at the professional level. That's very rare, but you can see the difference here in Collegiate where the extra firepower of something like a Maggie has so much priority that it actually warps Newcastle almost out of it entirely, making him a really awkward pick for those teams that do choose to run him and then suffer the loss in firepower if they're not able to defend as Newcastle demands.
I think also another thing about it is that it's collegiate. A lot of these guys don't really get to play Apex as much as the pros do, so you can't tell someone on your pro team, hey, go play Newcastle, or that's something you can do. You can't really do that as much with someone on your collegiate team. If they don't really know Newcastle, he's kind of a tough character to get used to. He's got a lot of mechanics, and they're a little awkward the first couple of times through, so maybe a lack of experience on Newcastle could also be gatekeeping some of these teams from playing him fully effectively, but it's still a good point. He's been very effective for the teams who have brought him, and a lot of these teams are going to start to need him as these spots in ring are getting closed out, but Barometer pretty much fully encircled by this next upcoming Ring 3.
Yeah, you know, as much as I praise Newcastle, I mean, we'll see how much he's able to do for Blue Falcons. It's a pretty awkward position that they're in right now, and what they need more than anything is a gap closer. I'd like to see them send their altar out to place an aggressive portal, but even that doesn't seem to work out too easily as the aggressive portal gets shut down, and now Blue Falcons have to walk all the way to their fallen teammate unless it's huge. We're so back.
I didn't even realize they could go that far. That is an insane Newcastle wall. And technically, this is a playable spot. I say technically because you're probably dying if you choose to stay in this corner for that much longer than a minute or two, but they're in the ring. So it all worked out, and their last teammate was able to run and just catch up with them as Temple Cherry making a Hail Mary play for a spot and ring, and they're actually able to find this full south side completely open for the taking, and they're a Newcastle team, so if they get that wall down, it has a lot of potential, but they can't get it down. The wealth of players with an angle onto this castle get the knock onto him first, and now Temple, that has turned from a pretty solid read into a disastrous landing.
The downside of being a thick boy. Wealth Griffins have been able to mitigate that pretty well with the gimme, but they haven't tried it, and they are abusing that thing. So, little bit of a different situation.
Oh no!
Purdue Black are getting cooked by a Rampart ult, and UC Irvine seem calm and collected as they slide in.
And that's what happens. Even
Well,
the
that
third
was
party. Yeah, exactly. Mez able to get a knock on the third party as well. So Utah able to take 1 KP out of that position. Maybe it would have been closer if not for Utah also showing their face. But I think once that happened, the fight was pretty much cooked. Because you're not only on the wrong end of a Sheila, but you're also on the wrong end of another team that's looking down at you and not doing anything to UC Irvine because they managed to play around those angles really well. And UCSD Gold starting to play around these angles towards the box really well. Why don't they all just line up for Lucian, who gets 3 kills, the full wipe to himself, and Calgary off the board in 14th.
I mean, that's the Lucian that you would have come to expect had you watched last week's games, folks. Lucian was going off with the damage numbers so often, allowing the rest of the team to reset and clutching up just when they need him the most. It let UC San Diego Gold move into today through the lower qualifying rounds with relative ease, and now it's gotten them that one step further. We are at the top 12 as Temple Cherry go down. Southern Miss walk their way into the center of zone. I will remind everyone, no Newcastle for this team, but a Kraber. It's a different strategy, but I was going to say it's like an offensive Newcastle wall, and then that didn't make any sense at all.
No, not really actually, but
My bad.
No, you're good. Hey, listen. I see the vision. Southern Miss very much spread apart from each other, though, in a lot of very different positions, but Oklahoma, a team that is very much something that Southern Miss are trying to take care of, because if Southern Miss can get this spot without Oklahoma on their backs, then they're going to be able to play it very easily, and that's exactly what they guarantee. Viz is able to shut down those last couple of remaining members. Presso and Saved both go down together in 12th, and now that area outside, all that open field, should be Southern Miss's to play without much to worry about, that is, except for UC Irvine.
Viking Cap getting shot in the side momentarily as Blue Falcons will fall. This whole center of Barometer outside of the ring for the next zone. Viking Cap going to stick the res onto Shmub, whose Bangalore smokes they will need to make a safe rotation. The San Jose State Blue actually have a pretty good shot at making this work. Nice moves by Nkosu, who I have oft praised for his altar play. Not taken away from that here.
Yeah, the team's going to get into a decent spot for the rest of the ring, and also just full 3 stay alive. Cumberland could put pressure on them. They could put pressure on everybody. You have to imagine, how on earth did a team like Cumberland, that was all the way up in Trident when the first ring was closing, end up with the height of Barometer? Something tells me that it was not without fighting, but they end up with this god spot that is in until very late. Not going to be in any longer, but it looks like the pings are coming out towards the height on that building just outside. And that could be their play for the future. No Newcastle, no Rampart, no nothing like that in terms of providing cover. But still, that height could be a dangerous spot for them to pick out very early on, with Southern Miss now needing to advance.
Cumberland looked down on a squad that I definitely want to talk about. They're the squad sharing the outside of the wall with Southern Miss, UC Irvine. Their spot was terrible up against Temple Cherry earlier. But with how they've played now, one of the few squads that are in the less populous side of the ring. It is they and Southern Miss that share the outside. And soon, it may not even be Southern Miss, as very quickly in a sticky situation. Full Sail Armada are taking a fight with UC Irvine as Wealth Griffins go down to SJSU.
And nobody on this FSA fight down just yet, but as I say it, Von Kuno, the first fatality, and everybody on the other side is at least not cracked, but Psycho drastically overextends. He wasn't even, or no, he was for UCI, and he's just thrown himself into the ringer, giving himself up, and that turns into an opportunity and a revive for Full Sail Armada, a team that we thought was in a really good spot, still could be if the shots continue to come through, and Lecter with the Sheila is really putting the pain onto PB and John. It's Dude Man to get the credit on the kill, but Von Kuno fires back and leaves Dude Man alone in a 1 versus 2 against Full Sail Armada with basically nowhere to go. The Wraith Q barely gets off, so will keep himself alive, but he's certainly not thriving. San Jose State Blue, though, still worse off as they're down in 7.
I think he's getting sent. Surely he's getting sent. Full Sail Armada, a full recovery on the high ground, and a fight that UC Irvine almost had is slipping from their grasp. Cumberland taking a quick reset as they have 1 member left alive. And Southern Miss take the high ground, overlooking everything. The highest high ground left in this ring belongs to Southern Miss.
We thought it was something that Cumberland were going to go for, and maybe they went for it. And maybe that's why only one of them is still left standing, as PB and John is going to start to take out Lecter on UCI. Somehow UCI is still standing, but Full Sail Armada certainly control that left low ground. And as I say it's a 6th place locked in for UC Irvine, with Utah again picking a very good spot in this ring, still alive in their building, but a lot of fragmented squads here. 5 squads, only 12 individual players.
Utah have got to be careful. They don't want to stay trapped on the inside of this building. No Wraith, no Altar means no realistic way out. If you do choose to stay inside and trapped with Southern Miss, that's even more dangerous. Dallas jumps down with the R9, almost kills 3 people in 2 sprays, but with a little bit of help from their friends. University of Utah will go down, leaving just Southern Miss and Full Sail Armada, who from the lower bracket have come up to make an argument for top 2 in Game 3.
Not just from the lower bracket, they got 10th place in the lobby to get here. They were the 20th seed coming in, and they could beat Southern Miss in an endgame. Dale's whipping the Kraber no-scope isn't going to help, but that R9 spray certainly is, and it looks like the dream is dead. Full Sail Armada, a 2nd place is solid, but Southern Miss are undeniable when you let them get alive this late, and they'll win their 2nd game of the 3 we've played already.
They're playing on different levels in that end game, right? You've got Full Sail Armada, who are fighting for 2nd place. You've got Southern Miss, who are fighting for their 2nd win, and they get it. 3 games into the day, Southern Miss have won 2 of them. It's a pretty wild stat line for us to start with. We got 3 maps, and we'll see how much Southern Miss can keep this up, as they are an incredible fragging squad. Can they demonstrate that same control when we move on to E-District, and when we then move on to World's Edge?
Yeah, Full Sail Armada came into that game with just 2 points, and so certainly going to be very content with the state they come out of the game in, that being much better off in terms of that scoreboard overall than they were just a moment before. And it's absolutely exciting to see for a team like Full Sail Armada, like we talked about, the team that came into this day as a team that was literally the last seed, not just in terms of the last place team that got let into this lobby, but they were in 10th place in the lower bracket qualifier. It could not have been any closer for them coming into this game, but they're still able to put their mark on this lobby with a nice 2nd place, getting some KP on there. But I think with that one, you'd have to imagine Southern Miss is going to be locked into that top 3 for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like a great day for Southern Miss. We know that it is. The question is, how much more can it continue to be? I do really quick want to say, I'm sorry I laughed in the middle of that. I clicked on the scores from last game. Southern Miss got a lot of kills. For how many? Yeah. We'll have to wait to the other side of the break.
I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. Big time. Lot of shine. Smoky in the air, that's a lot. Shine. Try to take it from me. I got a lot of shine. I just wanna know who got a shine.